Yeah, that's fire.
It's true. We're really good at baiting people.
Yep.
Yeah.
You could
Are
say
you guys like
you're,
you guys love trolling your communities or what?
Oh yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, we would never troll them. We would never troll them and like do something like start the show in the middle of a.
Right. Nice. I feel like they're very used to this kind of thing, right? Like they hear it all the time. This is my first experience. Yeah. I think you gotta do that though. You gotta have fun with your community.
We do, and we are having a lot of fun with our community here on Runeterrable Radio, and we are in the midst of it now. I don't even we trolled HugS there, Saucy. I don't think he knows that we're in a podcast.
Yeah, I'm not ready.
We didn't even know.
I realized.
We didn't even know that he's going to be on the show right now. We just threw this in last minute.
Right.
But that is good. Welcome everyone to Runeterrable Radio, episode number 23, 20 something. I don't know.
Oh,
that's what I have on the Twitch channel.
Okay.
Yeah, we are going to be talking about some Legends of Runeterra. Of course, if you didn't know that, it'd be weird if you were randomly here and didn't know we were talking about Legends of Runeterra, but we welcome you one way or the other. But we are here, and I already spoiled the guest for you future podcast listeners, so retroactively cover your ears, but we are here with a legend in esports and gaming. We are here with Legends of Runeterra streamer, tournament grinder, and Smash Bros. Melee OG, HugS86. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I wanted to do this because this whole community is brand new to me. So this is how I get to know people. This is how I get to like just know how the community feels, because I plan to be a part of it for a while. So
that's awesome.
It's good to get my feet wet and just start doing things like this.
Yeah.
And people don't, in my part of the world, people don't tend to ask me too much about my thoughts about this game. So it's nice to, partake in something where I get to
talk about it.
Yeah, I get to talk about it. See, I mean, not to say that I'm any sort of expert or like resource, but I think it helps you just learn more and get better to just be able to talk about it and just the things that are going on in your head with it,
Hey, as someone who is doing 3 different podcasts right now, it does help, and it feels good to talk about the things that you're thinking about.
What are the other 2?
So I do a TFT podcast and an Overwatch, specifically esports podcast.
Okay. So you're triple dipping into 3 different communities.
Triple dipping.
Yeah. He's the triple dipper.
That's what they call me. That was my old name, the triple dipper. The triple dipper.
Yep. That was the original name.
Yeah, triple. No, I got nothing more with that bit. But before we get too off topic, which I imagine we've been talking for 10 minutes. We're gonna get off topic. So if you guys are looking for a straightforward episode, too bad.
Probably not gonna be it.
Too bad. Okay, you guys need to be ready. So I ask you the question, viewers. Y'all ready for this?
Oh my God, already.
It's already happened. I had to bring it in there. But we'll get on topic here because we want to know a little bit more about our guest here, HugS. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Smash scene, HugS has obviously been playing. We were talking about it in the pre-show since 2004? Smash Bros?
Yeah, middle 2004 is when I first started playing competitively, like tournaments and shit. I started playing 2001 when it came out, but so I've been in just esports in general for a very long time.
You're definitely an OG in the world where there's these Fortniters and these Valoranties and all these
goddamn Fortniters and PUBGers.
Yeah,
you PUBGers and your Fortniters. I remember, this is completely unrelated to LOR, but I have to tell this story. I remember the first time I ever played Smash Bros. Melee. It was in an EB Games.
I missed that shit.
In a mall. They're still in Canada, actually.
Yeah.
In a mall, in a an area close to where I grew up, and me and my brother, when we would go back to that mall, and we would literally, when we got in the mall, we would sprint to the EB Games just to play the Smash Bros. Just to play the GameCube. It was like the greatest thing ever.
Would there be a line?
No, there was no line. It was just,
okay.
But it was just like a demo area it wasn't even like a setup. It was just like a demo booth for the GameCube when it first came out with Melee, and
that's so good.
Yeah, it was great. But so obviously, HugS, you've been playing Smash Bros for a long time and been in esports for a long time. The first game I think of when I think of Smash Bros is not Legends of Runeterra. So what brought you here? What brought you into LOR? Okay,
well, what brought me into LOR is another game that you don't think of when you think Legends of Runeterra. It was Pokemon. So
okay.
Yeah. So when Sword and Shield came out, I'd been playing Pokemon super casually OU singles for like a month or two, and it was just super on and off. It wasn't real. But then when the game came out, I was like, I really like this. I want to try to get good at it. So then I played it a lot, and I did pretty well at it. I wasn't going to stick to it, and I never had any intentions to, but it kind of told me that, you know what, maybe I'm not just stuck playing Melee. I could actually play other things and be decent at it, which is a fear you have, or at least that I had as a player.
Sure.
It's like, well, what if this is the only game that I'm good at is Melee, and I can't do another game? Well, Pokemon kind of helped me understand that I could, and that I may have some talents in a different type of game. So the way I looked at it was, so have you guys followed the Melee scene at all, or just seen a tournament or two, or just know of it?
Yep.
So it's arguably one of the most mechanically difficult games out there. And I was one of the players that was like ranked highly, but I had trash mechanics. Like I would say, like I was playing at a sub top 300 level, but I would be ranked into like the top 20. And with mechanics like that, I was just thinking, okay, if I'm getting away with this shit in Melee, one of the most difficult games, like what if I were to apply, that means I have other strengths. And what if those strengths were better applied to different types of games like Pokemon, or other turn-based games like card games, right? And I wanted to give myself a shot to play a different kind of game where my strengths would be more valued. And besides the fact that I'm also getting a little old, I was like, you know what? My reaction times don't matter here, right?
Sure.
And I still get to try to do some big brain shit. I like to gamble. I like to, I like to play those kinds of things. So, first card game ever. It was just a shot in the dark. I just decided to try it, just to try it.
Yeah.
And so I have no background. Like you asked me if I've played a card game, zero, nothing, no Magic, no Hearthstone. In fact, up to just a couple months ago, I was calling it Hearthstone. So like I don't know anything about these games, and I just decided to play this because I felt like Riot would be able to take care of its esports.
Sure.
So if I was going to invest into a game, I would want it to be a Riot game, and then just see how it goes, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I did. So it's been cool since. Yeah.
Well, it's funny that you actually say that, because I used to run a Hearthstone podcast, and we'd actually get a lot of guests that came to Hearthstone from playing competitive Pokemon. So it's actually, it's like, it makes sense. I mean, you're thinking like strategy, and that's what card games are. So it's just a different type of strategy game.
Okay. That's interesting. I felt like there'd be some crossover for between those two. Yeah.
So you're not completely insane, at least.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
But it is like, I really don't know much. Well, going in, I knew nothing. So I was really dependent on people in my chat, or just watching other streamers to just learn the lingo. Like you guys are talking about things right now that I don't understand still, and you guys will probably say some things I'm gonna need you to like fill me in on.
Sure.
Perfect.
But yeah.
But
trying to get good.
Well,
it's been a journey.
I would say it's kind of crazy. So when I first saw you were streaming LOR, like when you, I think I may have been like lurking in your chat for one of the first, I think it may have actually been the first LOR stream that you did, because you were playing the tutorials. So it's like,
when I was losing sometimes, I'm sure.
Well, but here's the thing though. you went from playing the tutorials and not understanding the mechanics of the game and having never played a card game to you in previous to the season that's right now, the beta season, you hit master. That's incredible.
I don't know what that means. I don't know. Like, I have no like frame of reference to know how good that is. But people tell me that's pretty good. Like, that's all right, and I'm happy about it for sure.
It's like top. It's certainly top, like higher than top 1% of players.
Oh, that's sick. Is it?
Well, there were a total of, like, I'm rounding. I think like under 2,000 master players total in NA.
Yeah.
And there's probably how many millions of people that play the game. So
are there really? Oh shit!
I'm assuming they don't release those numbers, but I'm just I'm assuming.
Guessing, right?
Okay, there's 3,000 plus. Okay, Gummy is saying there's 3,000 plus master players. But even so,
I ended in the top 2,000, so it still counts. Okay,
still counts.
Right.
Yeah. And you're talking millions. Those are some riot numbers, man. I'm not used to those.
I'm assuming that it's millions.
There's at least 100 players. I'm gonna say that at least.
That's reliable.
There's at least 300 players because we recently hit 300 people in our Discord channel. Discord.me/Runeterrable Radio. By the way, get that plug in there. To me, and I understand. Obviously, like you have that sort of competitive mindset that I think even some of the the Fortniters and the newer folks playing even like Overwatch people, because I've been covering the Overwatch scene since before the game came out, don't have that same like mentality going into it. And watching one of your streams the other day, you really put it into perspective for me, because you're saying on your grind you wanted to play just a good deck, the same deck over and over and over again to get to masters, and then start like learning the game. Like learn one deck and then learn the game, because you don't want to practice against bronze tier players, right?
Yeah. No, I don't. No, I didn't want to like get good at beating shitty habits.
Yeah.
And then I also I feel like I could learn the game through one deck, at least to a certain extent, because I was at such a shitty level that what benefit do I gain from like playing like 10 different decks if I don't even understand what my deck does, and I don't even understand how people like what their decks do. I don't even know what cards to look out for yet, or at that point. And so through one deck I could learn the game, because I could see how they react to this thing that I'm doing, and the tools that they use to react to it, and then I could do that with every deck that I fight. So then, like, it kind of gives me a place to center myself, and then just gather all this information that is like purposeful, right? If you throw me 100 decks as a brand new player, I'm gonna look at all of these, and it's just gonna be a bunch of shit that I don't understand. And I might win some games, I might lose some games, but I'm not really gonna learn. But if I'm just doing one to grind and then get to the good players, then I could start messing around. Like as soon as I got into Masters, I just got my ass kicked before I started winning again. And like I debuted kind of high in Masters, but I knew it was fraudulent. Like I think I debuted in like top 500, and then it was just plummet. It was just boom, 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 boom. Because then I started playing with other decks. Then I started like trying to grind different things that would help me get to the next level. Which I figure a lot of players that are new to competing in games, they probably just look at their rank and just like grinding up. Or just like leveling up, right? And then as long as they get the higher number, they feel validated in their improvement.
100%.
I don't think it's how it works at all.
Nope.
No.
At all. So there's a certain point where I was only concerned with ranking up so far as to play the better players. And I mean, to kind of show my team Dignitas, like, hey, look, I have some like, there's like an actual like number here I could attach to my improvement. But then after that, it's just going to be all grind and lose as much as I want until I figure things out.
Yeah. But honestly, like that's some of the best ways to learn. Like you remember the games you got your ass handed to you, and then you can go back and see why. Like that's just it's the same advice I tell a lot of people. I'm like, hey, how can I climb ladder most efficiently? Like take a deck, learn it really well, and do well. Learn the fucking game. Like learn the game first before you play with a bunch of stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I wonder how, like, because I see streamers and like the better players say like this is a deck that you could climb ladder with, and I think a lot of people take that. They probably take that and then just go, cool, this is how I get to Masters, and that's their end goal. That's just where it ends, right?
Yeah.
They're not thinking, this is how I get to the better players to get better. It's more, this is how I'm on the same level as these better players, which is not the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a lot of fun, dude. I'm trying to apply what I learned in competing in other games. I think a lot of people have learning games wrong in the sense that I think a lot of players that are good at games, initially at least, get there luckily. Like they just happen to be really talented, and they just get there, but they didn't know how they got there.
Right.
And like I think the really good players are the ones that last a long time. Those are the really good ones because they go through the adversity of playing other players that are also good.
Yeah.
And so then they have to adapt to that and then change things up and like learn from their mistakes, etc. So same with Runeterra, same with any other game. You're gonna like within a year you'll see who's good, and who just fucked around and just moved up.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah.
I want to be a good player.
Right. It's such a rare thing to hear these days. And I guess this is turning into the Three Boomers podcast where we just talk. Back in my day, you had to grind. If you didn't play 10 hours in a basement at Grand Prix Providence, then you don't know what. If you didn't play a PTQ in a gymnasium, you don't know what playing.
Right.
I actually did that, by the way, in Canada.
Nice.
And I'm sure there's melee tournament stories that are the same, that are similar
Caliber.
level. Yeah, similar.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, for sure. No, dude. Well, because coming up in melee, so I went through the era where there were players that so I started in 2004. I literally only have respect for one player from my era. I think everyone else from that era, as good as they were, even if they were better than me back then, I think they're trash because they couldn't keep it going. Like as soon as people started catching up, they were just done, and they tried to blame it on like, oh, I don't care about this game anymore.
Yeah,
they cared.
Everybody cares,
point, right?
Right.
Yeah,
you care when you're winning, and then
they just couldn't hang anymore, and then they just kind of disappeared. Whereas there's only 2 players from my year, I would say, that still compete at a level today, and same goes for the other players that came in 2005, 2006. There's some good players stuck around, and I mean, I could tell when someone has that learning ability to just like keep improving, and everyone could get it, right? As long as you're just thinking about these things correctly. Dropping the ego, shit like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But it's fun, dude. You know what's great about this community specifically when it comes to that is that everyone's super nice about it. Everyone,
you haven't been talking to everybody yet, I guess.
Oh yeah, okay. Everyone seemed nice and kind and shit like that. Like they've been helpful.
It's always a level of it depends on what you're comparing it to, right? There are definitely toxic card game players.
Oh yeah. What's a toxic card game player like? Because you can't type at me.
Oh well, okay. So
what do they do?
Well, maybe not in LOR and not like the people you're competing against. Like that would. Okay. I'm thinking more like Reddit complainers. I'm also thinking more like in Magic the Gathering in person. It's the same sort of toxic things that I'm sure you would hear at a melee tournament. It's like the person who's actually not. It's exactly what you're saying. The person who's won a couple of like small level events that don't really mean anything. Like they win locals, for instance, some like the equivalent of that. They win like their local. They're like their local grinder. Then they get to a regional event and they just get dumpstered because they're not actually good. They're playing against they're the type of person that will play against players that are specifically worse than them to just show off,
just to feel good.
And then and then in Magic, or even in LOR or something, we see this as well, where people will be like, "Oh man, I lost this game because this guy top decked this card. Oh my god, he's so lucky. I can't believe what a lucker he drew this card." It's like, well, actually, dude, if you would have played around that, like you could have played around that, or like you could have set this up.
Good.
You could have set yourself up to not get blown out by this card, like things like that. It's the same stuff. We're like, I'm sure it's like, oh well, he hit the tipper there.
Only, Oh yeah, if I didn't SD, if I didn't suicide on my last stop,
right?
Where the thing is like, well, you let him keep it that close the whole game. So the fact that it hinged on that means that you aren't that much better than the person. Like, sure, that part sucked. The top deck probably sucked. That's not why you lost.
That's not the reason you lost. There was a lot of calculated decisions that led up to that moment, which is the why you probably lost the game.
Yeah, I think you got to be really, really good to make those excuses when they actually apply. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I'm sure there are times where those actually made sense, but most of the time, people spewing that probably don't know what they're saying.
So like when Leffen makes those excuses, that's
I'm not gonna argue with him. Yeah.
I'm also not. I'm not trying to get you to talk smack about melee players either.
No, I mean I would have no problem with that, but I also don't have anything really bad to say about Leffen. I think he's great. Yeah. Smart dude.
Yeah, super smart.
So we always compare, like, because like you said, most of the guests we have on the show are a lot of people that come to this are coming from other card games, Magic the Gathering, Hearthstone, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever. But I'm curious because you're coming from Smash, so
way different,
way different. So like in the tournament scene, the competitive scene, how have the Legend of Runeterra tournaments, things that you played in, been comparable to Smash tournaments?
Well, I think it's hard to say because I haven't done a live one yet, which is what I'm hoping. I'm assuming that the big events are the live ones, right? Like those are the ones that have the most importance placed on them. Am I correct? Or
we don't know what Legends of Runeterra is going to be. In Magic, it would be.
Games in general.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so it's hard to compare like the online events to like the kinds of events I've done with Smash, but I can say that it feels a little more grueling for a one-day thing, but I don't know the typical format. So like the ones I've done, I've done Duels of Runeterra. I've done was it the Jam Fest?
Yeah, Jam Fest.
Yeah. And those are like 6 rounds of Swiss into a top 16 or top 8.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, they're still playing around with the format.
Yeah. So it's grueling. Typically in Smash, even though it's a grueling game as well, but the majority of your time spent is grinding and warming up and practicing, and then your actual match. For a top player, you could probably kill your first day of tournament bracket in 2 hours.
Wow.
Second day is a lot worse. It's probably like 8 hours, but only realistically like 2.5 hours that is spent playing tournament matches. The rest is grinding or practicing for those tournament matches. So it is grueling, but I don't know how it'd be for a live event. I don't know if that'd be different, if I'd get more breaks or whatever. But next one, I'm going to do it not streaming because I think the streaming part tires me out too because I can't do
it's
true.
I'm not going to stream next time.
That's really tough though, because like there's an amount of like mental energy that goes into streaming in itself, entertaining other people, and then the mental tax that you have from playing a strategy game is it's exponential. Yeah,
and then on top of that, the strain of feeling like you're not focusing on one or the other.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I will selfishly say that you should stream your games if you're playing in the tournament so that we can cast them. But I understand.
Yes, the sentiment. I would do the whole Discord thing, right?
Oh yeah.
So I don't actually have to entertain a chat, but you guys can still cast it. I don't know why you'd want to cast my matches. I feel like my first 2 tournaments, when I was playing, I was like, I hope they're not casting this because I feel like I felt extra aware of all my decisions. I'm like, I look like an idiot. Why am I making this decision?
Yeah.
And, shit, I misplayed and it makes it way worse.
Yeah, like none of these good players misplay it, and now they saw it. They're laughing at me. Like I'm thinking about this shit that I wouldn't think about. I shouldn't think about if I'm trying to compete.
Right. I will say I think we casted one of your matches, but we didn't. I remember specifically we casted one of your matches because of where your stuff was set up on your stream. We couldn't see your hand super well. So you also put up the ghost cam, the ghosting cam too, in case.
the ghosting cam?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the
anti-hand cam, so that.
Oh yeah, so people don't snipe me.
Yeah. The anti-snipe.
Put my whole face across my entire deck.
So that was funny. But yeah, I do think I've actually only been to one Smash tournament that I just was hanging out at because I was in the area.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that because they do like different like groups and pods, so you're actually not playing the whole day.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
that's
how,
what I would hope for.
Well, in a card game, you're basically playing the whole day.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
really?
Well, at least
it's brutal.
Coming from Magic the Gathering tournaments, it's literally all day for 3 days.
It's usually
There's I don't
it's usually 2 days of tournament. The first day is like side events and stuff, but it's like
exactly.
If you are in the tournament from the beginning of the actual event and you win the event, you are playing probably 20 hours that weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay, so you're talking like I'm in the venue 10 a.m.
Yeah.
And then I'm playing till like 8 p.m.
Yep.
2 days
and then you run it back. It's usually a little bit later of a start on Sunday, it's an earlier start on Sunday because if people need to fly back on Sunday, like,
Right.
But that was also, that's paper, that's Magic, physical cards, and like
there's logistics.
Not sure
stuff,
exactly how it's going to be with Runeterra, because I know like competing in DreamHack for Hearthstone wasn't as grueling.
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
true.
Okay.
Yeah,
that was like 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
okay.
It's not
that I like. I'm not used to doing like long events. It's just when I decided to enter this online one, I was just thinking, oh, cool. Like, I'll play like matches, like within 2 hours, I'll know if I'm in or I'm out. And then that wasn't the case. Like, it's like hour 6, and I still don't know if I'm like officially eliminated or not. So, fuck.
Yeah.
And then I, you have this mentality in Smash that you take every opportunity you can to learn.
Yeah.
Well, on this, it's like even if I'm eliminated, I can still play tournament matches, so it's a learning opportunity. But you're like, shit, it's already 6 hours after it started. Like, I'm so tired.
Yeah, I will say.
So next time I stream, I'm gonna have my breaks next time.
Yeah. It definitely, as many breaks as you can get is definitely helpful. And I will say, after you once you've done enough of these like sort of card tournaments, when you start O2, you're not staying in for the tournament for the tournament experience. Like,
oh yeah, like after enough.
Like
enough
once you're
events.
out, I mean, at least
that's
the general set because it's just so
even like the really good players.
Yeah, just because like it's a lot of those players, and I guess it's the same. It would be the same in Melee too. Like you're like the matchup well, and there's not like. There's a level of diminishing returns in a card game because like in Melee, like you can keep your hands are getting warm, you're getting used to like player tendencies and whatnot. There's more than just the game itself. It's like knowing the player and knowing like those sorts of things. In Runeterra, it's like the game is the game, right? And like you can get some of that, like, oh, I know that they're more likely to like pass here or they play aggressively and stuff like that, but like if you know the matchup, it's like diminishing returns to play out more games.
Think so?
I mean, that's just like what I think a lot of players do. I don't know if you see too many like pro Magic players that stay in if they're out of the running. Might just be a different mindset.
It could be. I just know with Melee is like diminishing returns the game. Like you will like at a certain level, this game has been out for so many years, right? Yeah. So like even at the highest levels, when you're grinding like for a month straight for this tournament, you're just improving by the smallest increment, and you're putting in hours and hours and hours. And you might be able to get this ledge dash with Fox that gives you one extra frame of invincibility that you might use in a match where it might make a difference. And then if that happened, you're like, cool. That was what the whole month was for. But that's essentially just diminishing returns on your work. Yeah. So I don't know. It might be a mindset thing where, I've kind of seen it with I'll bring it back to Leffen when he tries new games. He brings in like his competitive mentality into every game that he plays. Yeah. And he typically shoots to the top after enough effort. Because a lot of other people are not willing to play the game the way he is. Yep. So, personally, like when I ask what the top players in this game are doing, it's not so that I could copy them. I want to see how I could out-edge them eventually. Right. So, like, if there's a world where I think that again, I don't know because I'm not that good yet, But if I'm at that level and I could see some benefit from playing it out, and even when I'm O2, then I'm gonna fucking do it. If I feel like it's gonna give me an edge on these better players, you know.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely the right mindset, though.
Well,
to be fair,
theoretically, yes, but there's also like, is that the best use of your time to do that? Because like,
right, that could,
The other thing about card games is like you can get, I mean, you can do theoretical stuff in Melee too, but it's like, can I actually execute this? But like, I can like think about a concept. It's like, okay, is Vile Feast good against Gangplank, for instance? Those are two random cards. It's like, no, Vile Feast is not good against Gangplank because it doesn't kill it. Gangplank has Overwhelm and like that sort of thing. It's like, I don't need to play against. I don't need to test that interaction 50 times to know that doesn't make sense. It's like, something like, is Vengeance a good answer to Gangplank? Theoretically, I can think, okay, I'm using a kill spell to kill one of their champions. That's good. But maybe playing against that matchup, it's like, oh, actually, Vengeance ends up being too expensive because I had to spend my spell mana too many turns early. And when they play the Gangplank, I don't usually have 7 mana. So Vengeance is not actually a good answer to Gangplank. I can kind of theoretically do that, but like until I play out the matches, I might not know what the actual answer to that is. But doing that 100 times, like it might be useful in Melee, is not as useful. I think you can you can, once you get like the framework, you can take the shortcuts, I think, easier in card games than you would in a fighting game.
So then let me ask you this then, because this has been a question that's been on my mind since I started playing this game.
Okay.
Is that how at a certain point, I feel like every good player is making the right decision, right?
I disagree, but go on.
Okay, well that's what I was thinking. That they, at a certain point, every good player is making a good decision. So what would differentiate between players? Like, what would make someone succeed more than another player in a game where it seems like you're saying these situations are conceptually figured out? So what differentiates these players? What makes someone greater than another person?
I think I have some theories on that, but Saucy, do you have like a thought on that?
It's tough because you always want to assume your opponent's making the correct plays, but there's a lot of times they're just literally not. And that happens at all levels of play. Like I've been to, and I'm always bringing this back to Magic because that's what I competed in the most. But there's been so many Grand Prix events where you're at, top level. There were 500 players. You're in the top 16, and your opponent makes the dumbest play, and then that's what really throws you off because you're thinking, in your mind, you're thinking he made the right play, but you're trying to figure out why he made the right play. And you're like, how is that ever right? Like for him to vengeance my 2-1 when I have a 3-3 here, and it's just like you're trying to like conceptualize why this happened, but when realistically they just fucked up and
they just misclicked.
Really?
Well, and misplays happens a lot, and like I think we as like strategy game players, we kind of game ourselves and we kind of like become our own worst enemies sometimes and overthink a lot of things. And I don't know, it's tough because at the highest ranks, people still make mistakes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have so are you familiar with like playing like Texas Hold'em in poker?
Yeah, so I did play poker a lot.
Okay. So like in poker, like you can look at the hands and there's like a mathematical correct amount to bid and like what you should go in. Knowing that level of stuff is always useful, but even in poker, like making that high EV call is going to be good in the long run, but it's not like getting yourself to that position is the important part. So like being able to evaluate a situation, because like unlike poker in a game like Legends of Runeterra, there's more variables, right? Like you can get into similar situations, but it's not like, okay, I have ace king and they are like their range is like like 6-7 suited to pocket king, something like that. I'm just making up examples for the poker nerds that are going to be like, oh, that's not technically possible. I'm not a super technical at poker. Understanding what the right decision is there is one level. But then the next level is like, how can I set it up to get to that position where I can make the right play? How do I set that up 3 turns in advance? And we see, you know, I have the benefit of being able to watch the highest levels because I'm casting these tournaments. So it's like you see a player like Winding God who just won the last Duels of Runeterra, or a player like BBG or any of these like top, you know, a lot of people are saying the top level players. They're making these plays where even me and Casanova, Casanova's a high Masters player. I'm just a plain simple Masters player. I'm like, that's an interesting play to make here. Let's see how it plays out. And then 2 turns later, it's like, oh, he needed that there so that when his opponent likely played this card, he was going to be ready to deal with that. Or he needed to save this card that would have been a good card to play. He needed to save that for something that he knew his opponent would have in his deck. Stuff like that.
Right. Okay.
The example I give is a card like Ruination. Like, that's a card that, like, low-level players, they're going to get blown out by it, right?
Yep.
Because you're playing way too much on your board, and then your opponent gets, like, a 5-for-1. They kill 5 things with 1 Ruination, right? Well, the next level is, I'm playing around Ruination, so I'm going to only commit as much to the board. If I think they have Ruination, I'm going to only commit as much to the board as I need to bait out the Ruination and then have a follow-up play. Well, the next level after that is if I have Ruination and I need to get more value out of Ruination, I'm actually playing things out on the board with the thought that I'm going to Ruination to make my opponent think that I don't have it so they commit more.
Yeah.
Like, that's like...
Yeah, when they're smart enough to notice.
Right. So
it's playing too much shit.
It's stuff like that, and then also like knowing the matchups and knowing like what deck is good against the other, and then like what is the actual objective in the game. Like if I'm playing a control deck and I'm playing against an aggro deck, it doesn't matter if I'm spending my 7-mana spell to kill their 2/1. I need to preserve my life total at any cost, right? Even though that might feel like a bad play, I need to do it because that's the objective. The value of it doesn't matter. It's like I need to preserve my life total. So I know we're going deep into a rabbit hole here, but it's
no, it's okay.
Super nerdy card game stuff.
I like hearing about it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm hoping I get good enough to a point where I could start like exploiting that kind of thought process. Is my goal.
It's fun, like the mind games in card games. That's kind of one of the things that we don't get as much as with it being a digital card game. Is you can't you don't sit there and you can't like make these visual bluffs, right? But there's a lot of like there's still a lot of back and forth. Like I was streaming the other day and I'm like, all right, I'm going to make this purposely wrong play here.
Yes.
And it's wrong by all means. But if I do this, my opponent's going to think that I don't have another follow-up play. And like, I'm going to make this shitty block. So then he's super confused and he's going to like use his grasp on my wrong unit.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to play my Gangplank and win from there or whatever. Like there's a lot of times where like making the wrong play is the right play. And that's like my favorite thing in card games.
Okay.
Some of the old, I don't see it happen as much anymore. And I got to it a little bit at my like local level in Magic, but like some of the old time like Magic players, like if they have like you go into a tournament, I'm sure this is the same with Melee too. Like you're playing against someone, and it's a newer player versus like someone that people know. I'm sure this happens to you when if a random person's playing against you at like a local or something, they're probably a little intimidated, right? Like they're playing a little off. I mean, some people might rise to the challenge, but they're playing off. It's the same thing with Magic. So or Legends of Runeterra. If you have a 3/3 out and I attack with my 2/2, you think, oh, well, I'm gonna block. I'm gonna block there, right? But if I'm attacking with this 2/2 and you're intimidated by me, it's like, oh well, he's not gonna make a stupid play, right? He must have something. It's gonna be bad. But the super like, but you can do that whether you have it or not. Doesn't matter if they're not gonna block. Like you get it in, even if it's a bad play. Like you might get blown out by them blocking, but like that sort of thing is like the like pinnacle, and it's like I don't even know if you can do it in digital card games because a lot of it is like playing off of whether you think your opponent's going to block or not. It's just stuff like that.
So when they do these Hearthstone tournaments, can you not see your opponent? Like when they do the live
in person,
are you not playing
depend.
like across from each other?
No, in person you can. Yeah, 100%.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So,
It depends. Well, yeah, I guess if you're on the computer, you can probably see them, right?
Yeah. Because like at
be
DreamHack,
across
whatever,
from
you're
them.
sitting across from each other.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can
Yeah.
kind of just take a look at
Give
them.
them the friendly banter, or just like laugh at their play.
Yeah.
Oh, you played a Draven. What a dumbass.
What an idiot.
I'll do some of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just be as toxic as possible is what our best advice.
Yeah. Just be as toxic as you can at tournaments, folks. You heard it here first.
Make it fun for no one but yourself.
For the record, I 100% mean it. I'm doubling down on that. So you kind of talked about you want to continue playing LOR and getting to that high level. Is that your, like, to move into it, if not full time, like be like a pro tournament player? Is that what you're?
No, I 100% want to be a pro tournament player. Like, I want to be top in the world. Like, I want to say #1 in the world, but I don't know what that means yet. So it's kind of like too much of a goal right now. Obviously, that's where I'm going to keep aiming towards. Sure. But and like the way I have it in my head is I haven't reached the point where I'm stuck. I know exactly the steps I want to take to get closer and closer. And so I'm doing them, right? There's going to be a certain point where like I'm going to have to start really, really reviewing all of my matches. Like I'm going to have to start watching my VODs, which I haven't started doing yet. Because there's so many other things I can learn right now that doesn't really, that's not the thing I need right now. So start with that. And then there's going to be a point where I start getting into the mathematics of it. There's going to be a point where I start getting into the, the clever deck building right before a tournament part of it. There's going to be the level where I start actually studying the opponents that I'm going to have in my bracket and how they've played before, how they like to play, that kind of thing. So there's going to be levels that I keep taking on until I get there. But my ultimate goal is to compete at a level similar to that of how I competed in Smash.
Awesome.
Yeah, I don't just want to be like, cool, I got into top 20 Masters. Like I'm out. Like, no, I'm gonna show up to tournaments. I wanna make brackets. Or what do you guys call them? Top cuts? Top cuts, right?
Something like that. Top cuts. I don't know.
Yeah. I want to do some of that shit.
Yeah.
We call them top 8s for us. But
yeah.
But yeah, no, I want to be at that level. That's my goal. Otherwise, I literally would not be playing at all. I don't really play anything unless I plan to, try to be great at it. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'm too old. I got to spend my time wisely, man.
Getting too old for this shit. Yeah, I'm not making a lot of top 8s. I'm just making top weights. That was a bad joke. So that's awesome. And I mean, as not useful as a resource as it is, I'm always open. Do some play testing, writing, all that good stuff. I know there's a lot of good Discords out there.
That's the other thing. Like, I've people have offered to like grind with me or like scrim with me or whatever.
Yeah.
And I tell them, I'm like, dude, you're honestly like too good for me right now. Like, I am not going to.
I'm never going to be that good. I'm not too good for anybody.
I'm down. But there's even in Melee where I was at a high level, I would warm up at tournaments with lower level players up to mid, up to high. Like if I didn't like just starting off playing against the best of the best because I needed to warm up to that level, and if I was playing them, it might get into my own head that I'm not that good before a tournament. So why don't I stomp on these kids real quick, feel good about myself, then level up to the next person and then the next person.
Yeah.
And then by the time I'm really feeling it, then I'm grinding with like Zane and Leffen and I feel fine.
Yeah. That's
so yeah.
It also at that high level, I'm sure it's so like meta, right? Like like the top players are doing things that even like a high level player is just like that. This is like counterintuitive, right? But because it's so like
because you're playing the opponent, like their kinds of habits and what they're looking for, things like that. Oh yeah, for sure.
They're throwing out scissors, but it's like level 87 of scissors, not just
yeah. It's awesome, man. And honestly, there's actually quite a lot of parallels between fighting games and the card game, surprisingly.
Really? I'm interested to hear
think
this.
So. So for example, I do believe that there's a lot of conditioning in fighting games. In the sense that based on what you're doing, it's just a battle of information. Like you're giving away information on what your plan is, what you're doing, and likewise you're receiving it based on the info that you're giving them, right? So you could feed people information that you want them to react to later, like you were explaining earlier, right? Like when you do this awful play, which would make them play a certain way, which sets up your win condition, etc. Right? So it's the same thing with fighting games, where you condition them to feel comfortable in a certain type of way, and eventually they give you what you want. That's going to just flip the match on its head, and you can do that. I think it's pretty pronounced in card games, where if I could be good enough to really convince this person that atrocity needs to be used right now. And it has to happen. You'd be an idiot to not use it right now. And then I win the whole game because of that. Then that's the same shit in fighting games. Like I use Samus in Melee, who has the worst grab in the game. And when I started playing, everyone told me not to use the grab because it was so bad. But I use it all the time. And the way I get away with it is I tell people I put them into positions where they'd have to feel completely stupid to not shield in this situation. Like you would be an idiot not to shield, and then that's when the slowest grab in the game comes out, and then you get grabbed. Right. And if I could do that in card games, and I've seen me do it in card games, like not on that kind of level because I'm not that good, but I could imagine times where one day I will be good enough where I could have that sense of this person, what they're trying to do and what they're afraid of, and then work with that and try to make them do these kinds of things. Conditioning. Which I think would be awesome. That'll make the game hella fun at that point.
It really is, especially when you the matchup. That's it's like, okay, I just need to get this atrocity off, and I need them to commit. I need them to overcommit. I need to make them think I don't have it. They absolutely, I couldn't. It's not in my range at all. I would have to be a moron and have ruination right now, and then boom, they're done.
Yeah, no, I was playing my friend who do you know Lucky? He's a Smash player as well. He's a Fox player. So he's been playing Runeterra too. So I played him on my stream. He challenged me. I'm like, I'm gonna watch this kid because like I've been playing and he hasn't. And I was playing one of his deep decks. And then like my misfortune, like I just killed one of his units or whatever, and I was about to bring my misfortune out without enough mana to really like defend it. And I'm like, well, the only thing that kills me here, he was running a Shadow Isles deck. Shadow Isles was part of it, right? Obviously they were going for deep. I'm like, the only thing that kills me here is Black Spear, but why the fuck would he run Black Spear in this kind of deck? It doesn't make sense, right? Like he's trying to go deep. It just doesn't work. And then so I brought it out, and then his last 3 mana just comes out, and then he Black Spears me. I'm like, what the fuck? And then he told me after, he's like, LMAO, I only had one of those in my deck. Like, why the fuck do you have that in your deck? I was flipping out. I'm like, dude, that is horrible. And and like, imagine if that was a good player who did that to me. I'm like, genius. Genius.
Exactly.
But because it's Joey, it's Lucky. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? But I want to be at the point where I start doing the stupid shit on purpose. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I feel like the stupid shit. I don't know. I'll put the stupid stuff on purpose. I think that's a good episode title for sure. Doing the stupid stuff on purpose. I think that's a pretty good one. Okay. We are coming up close to time here. I wanted to talk a little bit about Rising Tides, obviously the new set. All 3 of us actually were lucky enough to be invited to the Creator Challenge, so we did some Creator Challenges from Riot. So Saucy, by the way, top 3. Let's get some claps in chat for Saucy with the top 3 Creator Challenge.
It was fun. Some of those challenges were damn hard though. There were some difficult ones.
Well, there was it was like just win a game while you're talking like a pirate, and then also 7-0 in Expedition. Like it's like
so. For anyone who doesn't know what happened was Riot, they put out this, it was basically like a launch party event thing where they were doing, I was telling people it was kind of like a reality show type race. So it was a little bit. There were 20 content creators, and we all had a series of various challenges that range from draw your favorite card in the game, like on paper, to talk like a pirate, to 7-0 expeditions, to a bunch of crazy stuff. Yeah, and there was the way that a lot of them were worded were kind of the way that a lot of the cards are worded, very vaguely.
Yeah, very ambiguous.
Very ambiguous. So I want to get you guys' opinion on this one. So the challenge for it says have 4 champions leveled up on the board at the same time. Did you take that to mean you had to have your own champions, 4 of them leveled up on the board at the same time?
Oh.
Because you didn't. It was just
wow.
4 champions. Yeah, I didn't know that until the last day. And someone comes in like, oh, no, it's just like their champions count too. I'm like,
wow.
Seriously. The first 2 times, it took me like 3 hours the first time because I'm like, all right, I'm going to play Teemo, Fizz, Gangplank, and whatever, something cheap so I can put them all at the same time because I have the mana to do it all. And this guy just comes in and is like, oh, no, like your opponent has Thresh and Anivia. You only need 2. I'm like, damn it.
Wow.
They need some like English majors to like just really like be careful about the wording on the cards and these challenges because it gets a little vague for sure. But it was fun though.
It was a lot of fun.
It was. For those of you who, I mean, I think everyone did a really cool job. I think they said they were going to release they were going to do some clip montage, so definitely check those out. Okay. I think I don't know.
And it was funny because Twitch, the official Twitch page, they put out like a little montage from it, and it was funny because HugS was in it and myself was in it, and it was funny. So my other half doesn't follow Runeterra or care about card games at all, but they do follow Smash. And they're like, oh shit, you were in a montage with HugS. I'm like, oh yeah. They're like, yeah, it was so really funny.
Yeah, but do they know that HugS is on the show right now?
Yeah, they don't care. But it's a Runeterra podcast. Doesn't care.
Oh, okay. I see.
Oh. Yeah. Runeterra is like whatever. But because it was like when we were at DreamHack, they're like, yeah, I know you're competing in this Hearthstone thing. I'm gonna be watching Smash. So
that's funny.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So
yeah, we should all hang out at like a future DreamHack or something.
Yeah, when this DreamHack
100%. Whenever the next, I am imagining that regardless of what the event is, whenever the next in-person like gaming thing happens, it is gonna be fucking lit. Swamped. Yeah, it's gonna be
swamped. Lit.
I mean, I know I'll be running some huge community thing. I don't even care what it's for. I don't even care what game it's for. I just want to like see other people still exist. It's crazy.
Yeah. So first week of Rising Tides.
Yes.
What decks are you guys enjoying? What kind of archetypes? Because I'll be honest, there's a lot of new shit. Like way more new archetypes than I expected coming from the open beta.
Yeah.
HugS, what kind of stuff you've been playing? What decks do you enjoy to play?
So the type of deck I've been playing, I prefer aggro more than anything.
Cool.
Same.
But I've been messing around with Swain decks more than anything.
Nice.
And I'm not even sure if he's good really. I just like his vibe and I like what his aim is. And I created it was the first time I ever built a deck. It was just this stupid aggro Swain deck that in my mind had some ability to adjust to the slightly later game. But then that was just wishful thinking because I was playing against normal instead of ranked. And so I was just watching them. But then as soon as I went into ranked, I'm like, I really can't get past round 8 here. So I might need to fix this up. But I've been playing mostly aggro, mostly Swain, and I haven't gotten into any other decks too much because the challenges kind of took my time away from it.
Yes.
So I'm barely jumping back into that now. But what are you guys playing?
Man, I have been just floating around. Like I think I may have played every single deck that's been built. Every single deck that's in that has been posted on all
the top
Runeterra decks Twitter and decks of Runeterra. I've copied basically every single one and I haven't found one that sticks. Though the most recent deck that I've been playing is actually one that I saw from Gummy God, who's in the chat right now. Shout outs, Gummy. Love you.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen him on the ladder a few times.
It was it's a Twisted Fate. What is it? It's Twisted Fate Karma. Twisted Fate Karma.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, and it's actually like got a lot of steal cards. So cards that all the like kleptomaniac. Yeah, that's what they call it.
Yeah,
like stealing your opponent's cards. It's kind of like a
can
control.
Can you link me that after?
Yeah, I'll ship it over to you. Yeah, it's I only played a couple games with it, but it was pretty fun. I've been playing some Karina as well. Karina or
I hate
Vi plus. You hate Karina?
I hate Karina.
I hit Masters with Karina, so I had to.
Okay.
Strong. Still good.
She's still good.
Yeah.
And Vi. So Saucy people have been shitting on us for our lack of love for Vi.
I keep it going.
Yeah. Vi, I don't think she's bad. I'm just not excited about her. She's just the most boring champion in the game by a wide margin.
And this is the same thing. I think I think the card is good. Like as far as like mechanically and how the card works, I think it is a fine card. I think it's good.
I think it's good.
Yeah.
I just think it's boring as fuck.
Yeah.
That's
Chillin' Yeti is not an exciting card.
Yeah.
Bull Elnuck is an exciting card, but
that's great.
That is not an exciting card. Not an exciting card.
Moo.
Yeah. That's similar to how I felt about Bannerman too. It was just kind of boring.
Oh yeah.
And that's the thing. That's the exact same thing. Like Bannerman is a strong deck. It's very good. It's super consistent. That's one of its like biggest strengths. This is incredibly consistent.
Yeah.
You have a very direct game plan. You do the same thing every game. It's good. But it's just so not fun to play. Like there's just not much to it.
Right. I prefer decks that make me struggle a little bit with decisions. You know.
Yeah. Well, you have the decision of do you want to play your second 4/4 for 3 mana on turn 4, or do you want to play the 4/1 and say, oh wait, no, you just play the Badger every time. You just play more Badgers every single time.
Yeah.
Do you want to play a 4/4 for 3, or do you want to play Misfortune? There's your just. And here's the thing: the answer, it doesn't matter. You just play either. Just play the card and attack. That's all that matters.
So for me, I've had a few again. Like the challenges took up what we were doing them from Thursday to Sunday.
Yeah.
Like it was pretty much the entire launch. So I haven't had a ton of time to do a bunch of crazy stuff. My favorite thing that I've created is the unyielding kegs.
I was gonna say that is the hallmark.
It's the most fun thing I've ever done in this game. You put unyielding spirit on any keg and you have permanent spell damage. So you play things like the Riptide Rex, and he's got like +4 damage on each of his cannon shots. You can lethal. I played against Swim in one of the contests, and I lethal them with 2 warning shots that did like 4 damage each. Just crazy stuff. So that's super fun.
I've never seen this card. That's crazy.
Unyielding Spirit?
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Oh,
yet.
dude, people hate that card.
Yep, people really don't like that card. It's great. But on the kegs, it's awesome. So
I don't know. Is that card's fucked up? Should that be an episode title?
Yeah. Think about it. You have these barrels that don't go away, and you play something like Twisted Fate to hit them for 4 across the board instead of 1. And it does a lot of cool shit. So that's fun. But I think my favorite, and I said this before it came out that it was going to be my favorite. Fizz is my favorite card of the set. So
I like Fizz.
Fizz is super fun, and Blevins will appreciate this because
I had to cosplay as Fizz.
No, when I was playing Magic, my first when I'm getting into competitive Magic, when I was getting into competitive Legacy, it was Infect. Infect was the deck I played, and Fizz feels like that. Like in this game, you basically just get one dude to stick on the field and win with that one dude. Yeah, it's hex-proof stuff, and that's how it feels, and I absolutely love it. And so I've been working on perfecting the Fizz deck is what we've been working on.
Okay, dude, I want to try out the Fizz deck too. That's the one I had the most fun with that I was forced to play during the challenges.
Yeah,
you know how you had to pair up like the Tebow Fizz deck that I played.
Yeah,
I had so much fun with it.
It's so fun.
It was hype. It was so hype. Yeah.
Oh man,
I'm gonna try that out for sure. I gotta. I don't know if I'm entering the tournament this Saturday because I want to develop like 3 different decks that I feel comfortable playing with. Right now, literally, I've just been playing Swain. I gotta jump into some other shit.
Yeah,
dude, because Leviathan Swain, it makes me so hyped. Like when I set it up,
it's so cool.
When I set it, it's hard to set up though. People always stuff it, but I'll find a way.
Mogwai was playing, I think, a Noxus, Freljord, Swain style deck, which looked really cool.
Yeah, I was playing the Sejuani Swain because you get the Sejuani with the City Break or whatever, and so it freezes their whole board at the start of every one of their turns.
Ooh.
Oh god.
Oh, the catapult card?
Yep. Yeah, because when they take damage, it freezes their board. So then you're just like, all right, guess you're not playing cards.
Guess you don't get to play anymore. Yeah. That's crazy. I did
That's
see
pretty
the
fun.
Sejuani Teemo deck too that was like doing the same thing because like every
Really?
time they draw a mushroom, their whole board is frozen.
Yep.
Oh God.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. Yeah.
Yeah. Overall, I think Rising Tides has been super cool, and I think I mean just based on how much the meta and like the decks changed from week to week in the beta season, I'm imagining we're going to be seeing a ton of other decks too, with stuff people just haven't even explored yet.
Yep.
But as we wrap up here, we do have a couple of listener questions that we wanted to get to before we go here. So I'll start us off here. Jelly asks for HugS, what kind of controller do you use for LOR?
I use a HyperX keyboard.
There we go.
There
you go. I do use a GameCube controller actually.
And HyperX mouse. Shoutouts.
Sponsored.
Yeah.
I mean, I would use a GameCube controller if it made sense.
If I could, yeah.
a HyperX GameCube controller. Get on it, HyperX.
Yes.
How come these peripherals companies don't make GameCube controllers? I feel like they can make, if like Razer made a GameCube controller, they can make a killing off of it.
Melee players are the most elitist fuckers on the planet. They will refuse to play any other type of controller.
Yeah, we need a
Mad Cats has tried. People have tried.
We need a mint condition 2001 specifically GameCube controller that's NRFB.
With a 90s CRT.
Yeah, it's true. We need a 90s. We need a Shreko Vision
the My Little Princess.
I love that. I love that.
So good.
This is an interesting one, and I think it'd be actually a really good one from S.J. Woody. They ask, what tips would you give to someone that's new at card games? And as you being new at card games, what tips would you give?
Well, I guess I got to give the disclaimer, right, that I'm not good. So
I mean, you are masters. I'm saying you are. I will give you that denotion. You are better than a lot of players.
Okay,
better than a lot of players.
What I do have is experience going through it as a brand new player. I had my recommendation is, and this just applies to any game, is don't listen to people. Don't listen to everybody. All right, like you have to go and experience these things yourself before you decide what advice is good and what advice is trash. Because when you go into a new game, there's going to be plenty of people who think they know what they're talking about, or who think that they understand the way that you learn. Maybe they're right, but you're not at a place where you could process it correctly.
Yeah.
So what you need to do first is get your hands on it. You need to play. You try things out, do things that make sense to you, and then have the questions to get the advice from the people that you trust to know their shit. But you need to come in with questions. Don't let people give it to you. You need to create the questions by getting in there and playing. And that's just in general with any game. So card games specifically, just get in there and play and get as much knowledge as you can about all the cards that exist, because I think that's the most important initial fundamental step. Yeah. It's just knowing what the fuck kind of cards people are playing. Yeah.
Need to know what you are going to play around. So Space Coast Gamer, who's in the chat, by the way, shout out to Danny. He asked what your favorite archetype is. You mentioned you're an aggro player.
I prefer it. Yeah.
So he also had a follow-up question here, and maybe you haven't gotten into this with LOR, but maybe you can dip into your previous tournament experience. But he says, when testing for a tournament, do you have a group that you test with, or do you just play on ranked?
Oh, you mean like players that I work with?
Yeah.
Is that what they mean by group?
Yeah.
So that's one of those things I mentioned that, as I progress and get better, is one of my later goals that I'm going to have. Right now I don't, because I don't feel like I'm good enough to benefit from that just yet. So right now I kind of grind ranked. And I have some people that I do scrim with individually that know a lot more. Like there's this a guy named Clan Master who was like #1 on the NA ladder for Masters. He'll help me out a lot. He'll give me a lot of. We disagree on things sometimes, but he knows more than I do, so I trust him a lot. And then I try to make sense of his thoughts. Emotional is another guy I play with.
We had him on the show a couple weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
A couple weeks ago.
Sorry, I don't play with him yet because I've refused to scrim with him, because I also told him he's too good for me. But
he's very good.
In my chat, I take his advice, and it's best when they're both in the chat and they get to argue with each other, because then get to challenge each other on their thoughts. I'm like, yes, that's what I want to do, but I don't have it right yet. But yeah, so I have specific people I play with, but I don't have like a squad I work with. Like I was watching, sorry, really quick, I'm rambling, but I was watching a thing with Swim. He was like streaming, and then he was talking about how he's going to work on a tournament. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna get in a group call with these guys, and we're going to talk algorithms and shit like that. I'm like, fuck, I want to be like on that level, you know, where I call my friends like, yo, let's talk some math for like the first hour. Yeah. Let's do this for the next hour. So one day, that's the end goal, and I suggest he should get there. But right now, that's I don't need that to get better. Right, that'll be later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would bet that it is very likely that one of the people on that call with Swim was Gummy. So,
oh yeah,
okay, who's in the chat? Cool. Gummy's good people.
I'm definitely gonna have some questions about that when I'm there. Like, I'm really interested in the math and how that all works.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Part of the reason I grinded the Masters at the end was so I could get into the Masters Discord to just get like. Just to hear from people and stuff like that, and also to have an unlimited Discord of guests to have on the podcast. But maybe ulterior motives. Okay, Sauce, you want to take the next one?
Let's do.
We can do. I think we got time for one more.
One more? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm deciding which one I want to do. Let's do that. This is kind of interesting. I want to. We also skipped this last week. So Ranik asked, do you ever see them adding different card types like artifacts or enchantments from Magic, for example, to LOR, and would it benefit from something like that?
Okay, you're gonna need to tell me what artifacts and enchantments are.
So there's different card types in like Magic or Hearthstone or whatever. So like artifacts would be kind of like they're kind of hinting at them. Like a keg would be kind of like be an artifact in this game, kind of.
Yeah, where it's like not a follower or a unit. It's just like so they'd have like thing in play.
Yeah, like another type of like another card type.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure. I mean, I feel like at some point in the late future there will be other card types. I feel like every card game eventually ends up doing that, where you have like I could see them doing something like an enchantment. I mean, they're kind of already do things like that. Like I would say Unyielding Spirit is an enchantment.
As opposed to a spell.
Yeah, it's the same thing. So, and they work the same way in Magic. So I think that we'll see. We already have kind of enchantments. But I don't know if they'd ever do like because they already have like the champions are kind of like planeswalkers.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we need more card types.
Well, I guess to answer that question, what was the question again? If adding that would
benefit the game?
I don't. So just from my perspective, I don't think that adding depth to a game ever hurts it. I think it's typically beneficial as long as it doesn't centralize the gameplay. Yeah, so if they could, and I felt like they've been doing a good job on this so far, where you have other powerful cards that are useful in their own way, but it doesn't diminish the value of other cards as much as I thought I'd see when they release new cards. Right?
Yeah,
like the goal that they state is to not make other cards obsolete, and it feels like they've done that with this, at least this first wave of new cards. So as long as they could do that, like when they come out with artifacts or enchantments, as long as it doesn't diminish the value of other games and it adds to the depth rather than taking away from it, I do not see how it could hurt the game. Depth is the reason that a game could last a long time. So it's going to be necessary at a certain point.
I think if you plot out, if you think of LOR as in the same way as Magic, and that like Magic is 27 years old, right? 93? Yeah, jeez. Magic is 27 years old, and you look at the newest set that just came out and compare it to Alpha in 93, it's like there have been tens of thousands of cards that have come out. There are so many new, the rules are different. There's so much different about the game, but it's still Magic. So I think, HugS, I think you hit the nail on the head, is that as long as it doesn't make things obsolete, and it's like, oh, well, they made these, if they were called, let's just say they made a card called Runes or something, and these Rune cards are just the most fucking broken thing ever, and you absolutely need to play them in every deck, and it's like, well, everyone's running a Rune deck now, and everything that we knew before is just is obsolete, which at points in Magic, it kind of feels like that sometimes. That's going to be good. The only counter I have to something like Ranik specifically says artifacts and enchantments and like things that would go on the board. The only objection I have is like board space in the game is a resource both in the game and also visually that they use. So like, well, you could say, oh, well, they could just expand the board so you can put infinite things. Like, yes, but also at the end of the day, this is also a mobile game. So that is a factor that is going to go into all of the decisions they make. I don't think we're going to see an infinite combo where you have to keep playing things over and over and over and over and over again. That's going to be a common theme. Like you can make infinite combos right now, but I don't think a thing that requires you to drag 50 things to attack is going to be a main driving mechanic in the game because it is a mobile game. Even if that might make it a better game, and I use air quotes there for better overall. There are some restraints that don't have to do with gameplay, that have to do with UI, UX, and that they will keep into consideration.
Yeah, that's fair. And I like I guess the last thing I would say about this is I wouldn't put it past Riot at all to do any crazy shit like this.
Yeah.
And add, I mean, because some of the stuff they've done, like this is the official launch set of the game.
Yeah.
Some of the cards and combos and crazy shit you can do in this game are way beyond like things I would expect from a first set of a card game.
True.
Like there's some insane stuff. Like
in a good way or bad way?
Like in a great way. Like the amount of things that you can do, like different decks that are viable.
Yeah.
Like they have like Maokai, for example, is not a card you would never see that in Hearthstone, something like that.
Right.
Like it's just like there's just some crazy stuff. So I think they're not afraid to take risks, and it's very fun for that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. As long as their balanced team is on it, you know.
and
we'll see.
As someone
patches scare me, man.
Patches are scary.
I had a patch in my game.
That's true. That is an interesting. That is interesting that this game will constantly change.
Yep.
At least in some ways, but that is going to be it for this episode, guys. Cool. Thanks everyone for watching. HugS, thank you so much. Thank you for being on. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It was fun. Anytime, man.
Yeah, that is great. So HugS, before we go, the floor is yours. Sell out, shout out, do all that good stuff.
Cool. Yeah, you can follow me at HugS86 pretty much everywhere. Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all that shit. Shout out to Dignitas for supporting me trying out a brand new game.
Nice.
Where I have to start out as a shitter. So awesome for that. Awesome for them to trust me with this. And shout outs to my Twitch community, the Subpub, for letting me do what I do.
Yeah,
cool.
That's really awesome. But Saucy, where can people find you?
I'm just Saucy Mailman everywhere. Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Spotify, all those places. Also my website, saucymailman.com. If you are newer to the game, I have a huge section on there for new player tips and tricks and guides and all of that. Been doing a lot, have some really sweet guides coming out. That's where I live. Oh, and hey Blevins, where can they find us all day, every day?
You can find us on Discord, discord.me/Runeterrable Radio, or you can go to DeckPics.Live. That is where all of our stuff is. We definitely actually own DeckPics.Live. But that's going to be it. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. That's going to be it for Saucy Mailman, for HugS. I'm Blevins. We'll be back next week to talk more Legends of Runeterra here on Runeterrable Radio. Ha 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 ha.